So, episode 6 of Boku no Hero Academia, this episode right here, it was mainly set up because we see that next week we'll be getting Izuku going against Katsuki, and that right there will be one heck of a fight. Even though, Izuku cannot control his quirk, we do see that at least he can finally stand his ground, at least somewhat against Katsuki, because he had been studying him for a very long time, obviously, so he does know his fighting style, and so that way, even though he cannot use his quirk on him, he can at least dodge and counter him accordingly. So that right there should be a nice fight, and I'm definitely looking forward to that, because we all know this right here was definitely going to happen, because there's no way these two will not fight each other. And we all know that if Izuku could control his quirk and not have it, destroy his body, he would definitely win, hands down. So I'm definitely wondering how this fight will go down, because obviously with him not being able to use his quirk, and we know that Katsuki can use against him, I do wonder how this will play out. But we see that the episode itself, it starts off from last week, after we have Izuku throwing that ball. We see now how everybody was kind of surprised by that, but mainly, Katsuki, because he had no idea that, Izuku, now had a quirk. And we see that at one point he actually, got so mad, he was charging in, getting ready to attack him. But we see now that their teacher, Aizawa, he has these cloths that are very hard, because they are made from a very special, alloy. And we see now that, once again he use his powers, but we do see that, kind of wondering, last week, just how powerful is this guy, because the Razorhead sounds like a very broken hero, but we learn now that his quirk actually has a major handicap, and that right there is his own body, because we see, or we learn actually, that Aizawa, suffers from dry eyes. So that right there explains a lot, because I was wondering, why did his eyes look so tired, or, had those red veins, in it. So that right there explains a lot. And so we see now that for the following test, Izuku, he could not do that well, because, having a broken finger and not being able to do anything about it, and much less having to use it, that pain was kind of too much. And we see now that at the end of all the tests, he actually came in last place. And so of course he was scared that, maybe, of course he was scared, because he was thinking that he was going to get expelled. But we learn now that their teacher was actually lying, because he said that to him to make them get serious and bring out their full powers. So that right there is very good news, especially for him. And we see now that when their teacher left, because he told them that their curriculum, that right there will be in a classroom, and just go over that. We see how him and All Might have this brief discussion, and we learn now that last year, or at one point, he actually expelled the group of first years. So we do see now that that even though he was claiming it to be a lie, there was definitely some truth in it. And so at the same time, we see now that he was saying how Izuku potential is not zero, which why he didn't expel him. But at the same time, he also, called out All Might as well, because, he had noticed, how much faith All Might had in Izuku. And so right now, they definitely can't figure out that, these two have the connection, because at the moment at least, they share the same quirk. And so after that, we see now that they do have normal classes, and one of the courses that we saw was English, but at the same time they were all bored in it, and so luckily, that right there wasn't a major focus, in the episode. But we see now that All Might class, that right there where things really picked up, because we have these students, they were all hyped, they're pumped up, and we even see, and we even have All Might rocking a classic, costume is, because I believe they said that the one he was wearing was from the Silver Age, and we learn now that the course that he teaches is hero basic, training. And we see now that, All Might, right out the gate, this guy was throwing him into combat training, and we see now that that all our characters, had their own costumes that were like made just for them to like go along with their quirks, and obviously we already seen these costumes because they were like showing off in the opening, but at the same time seeing these characters like walk out in their costumes, that right there to me was like a very, very cool moment. Like I was digging that, seeing them all like walk together like that. And then we have Izuku, who was like last, but we get this like very nice flashback of where he was like writing this sheet, for the clothing allowance, because how this work is, they send their measurements and their like design of like how they want it, and we see now that when he first entered there, he had put none because obviously he know about his quirk just yet, but when he called All Might, he was telling him how that right there was like possible to change, because sometimes people make the mistake by thinking their quirk works one way where it works another, and we saw now how, or at least like in one case where we had this girl who could like shoot water like where she can shoot water from her body. In reality, she actually like turned water in the air. She had to turn the air into water. So that was like pretty awesome as well. Oh, and before I forget, we also got this like very nice scene where we have Ochaka, we have Tenya, and we have Izuku. Like they were all walking together, and we do learn now that, or we get a better example of how that nurse like quirk actually works. Like she only boosts the body's like healing rate, but at the same time that right there comes at the cost of their stamina. So I do wonder just how tired was Izuku after he had broke like every almost every bone in his body, because we see now that like that even healing like one finger, like made him feel very tired. So obviously, having his arms and his legs broken, that right there must have been almost dead exhaustion for him. But we see now how Ochako, she actually likes calling Izuku Deku, because that right there was the name, that Katsuki gave him, because that right there, it meant useless, to him, but to her, she was saying how, it means, you can do it. So that right there carries a lot of weight. And we even see him now, carrying that with him, because, like Izuku, he definitely like fell for hard, and that right there is obvious because he is crushing mad hard right now. And so of course he actually, wants to impress her, at least like seems that way. And so we see now that after, like going back to that flashback about the clothing alliance, because that right there is what I was talking about originally. We see now how Izuku, he's like, we see him now, so like still trying to like sign out that form, and we see now how his mother actually came now with a jumpsuit, because one day where he was like, because one day where he was like writing stuff and fell asleep, she actually saw, the design that he had in his notebook, and so she was saying how, what she said back then always kept bothering her, because she gave up on him, but he never gave up on himself. And so we see now how she wants to support him, so now she wants to support him with everything she have, and giving him this costume right here, that right there is a great start, because he didn't care, because he did not care if it was like, all fancy made or looking really cool like how some of theirs did. But the fact that this right here came from his mom, a very special place, like from her, obviously that right there meant a lot. And we see now that when All Might had like looked at him, he can tell like there was some very strong reason to look at him, because we have All Might's pointy ear, and we see now that on the mask that Izuku was wearing, he had horns that were like similar to that, and we see now that on his, he had like this big, wide smile on his, and that right there was like copying, All Might's, like very manly smile. And so, All Might was like laughing, and to himself he was saying so obvious, because he knew that costume was like Izuku's own version of him. And so now, while they were all talking, we have, Izuku, Ochako, and we have like this taller looking guy. Like while they were talking, we have him saying, that the hero course, was the best. And to me, I was like dying laughing when I saw that, because obviously, Oshiko was like wearing this skin tight bodysuit, and that right there was like showing off her features. And so we see that, now going back to their, purpose for like being here, we have All Might throwing them, into the middle of a battle where we have, where we have the class splitting up into like two groups. Two groups, but we have like these multiple teams with like two students on each. And so pretty much, where we have, all the characters, splitting up. Our main focus here is Tenya, Katsuki, Izuku, and Ochako. And so pretty much those four were now our main focus, because we have Katsuki and Tenya on one team, and then we have Ochako and Izuku on the other. And so pretty much they were like going to be split into either being a hero or a villain. And so pretty much the villains, so to say, they had to protect like this fake bomb, while the hero tried to like take it to the building and actually, actually destroy it. And so pretty much now they all had, some time to study the setup of the building and pretty much prepare for this. And so now we have Katsuki, who was furious because obviously he still couldn't believe that, that Izuku had a quirk, or more importantly, he felt like Izuku, was like tricking him all this time and just hiding it. And that right there made him feel like he got played for, like a fool. And so we see now that when Ochako, where we have her studying where we have her studying the structure of the building, Izuku, he was definitely, all worked up, but that right there was because of like how much he actually had respect for Katsuki and also Tenya, because these two are like very, strong characters, because both of them have like this very amazing quirk, and we all know how Izuku can't use this like that. So obviously, he was like definitely on guard. And so we see now that when they finally got started, we have, Izuku like sneaking in there, and of course, Ojiko as well. But Kazuki was like not waiting for them. He actually came to them and like trying to get a sneak attack in. But we see now that even though both of them had dodged it, he did manage to actually get, like some of Izuku's face, because we saw, some of his mask that right there, kind of got blown off. And so we see now how Kazuki was like definitely ticked off. And so we see that when he was like going in for an attack, we actually see, Kazuki. I mean, we have Izuku. There we go, grabbing Kazuki's arm and throwing him, over his shoulder, because apparently he always start with like a big right swing, and so that right there was like very easy to read. And so we see now that when Kazuki was like wondering how in the world did he do that, obviously, like we all knew about that notebook, because that right there was the one he wrote so much in, and also that was the one that Katsuki had destroyed. And so we learn now that in that notebook as well, he always wrote about these heroes who he thought, were amazing. And obviously Katsuki to him is like in that list, even though, these two seem to be like bitter enemies, especially Katsuki. At one point they were like definitely friends, because we saw them hanging out in like this little quick flashback. And so we see that, Katsuki was like definitely, like very pissed off at this point, because he can see that, that Izuku was like, like scared, but at the same time he was like going to go against them. And also at the end of the episode, we have, we have Izuku telling him how his Deku won't mean useless, forever, because now it's going to mean, like you can do it. It was something like that, but at the same time, like the way he said it, it was so powerful and, and impactful. I do hope that line, stick with him, because that right there would mean so much for a character, because obviously if Katsuki, if Izuku can get Katsuki to like see him in a better light, if Katsuki can possibly acknowledge, Izuku is not useless, it's not weak, it's not a coward, but is a character who is strong in like his own right and becoming stronger, then maybe these two can become friends, once again. But like I said, next week we are getting this fight between them, and we even see now that like Tenya was like definitely getting into his role as a villain. So that right there, should make for some pretty impressive comedy as well. But I am definitely looking forward to this fight because to me, I feel like it's going to be a good one, and this right here will definitely be important for like both of these characters, at least in my opinion. But of course, let me know what you guys thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps me out. And as always, you guys take it easy. I will see you all next time.